You are probably telling yourself that the difference between cheap and value spending is just a small money issue, a question of whether paying less or spending more saves you money in the long run. It is not. It is a life issue wearing a financial mask. The number on the screen, the purchase in the cart, the silence between partners, the delay before investing, none of that is random. It all points to a deeper pattern, one that keeps taking years from people who swear they will get serious later. Stop. Think about that for a second. Later is not neutral. Later is expensive. Later charges interest and stress, lost options, weaker habits, and slower freedom. That is why this matters so much. If you stay with me, you are going to see how ordinary behavior creates extraordinary financial pain, why most people misdiagnose the real problem, and what to do if you want the next 5, 10, and 30 years to look different from the last 5. You're also going to see why this topic never stays inside the wallet. It leaks into self-respect, relationships, work decisions, sleep quality, and the level of honesty you can tolerate with yourself. That is the hidden cost nobody talks about enough. Part 1. The story running your life. Every financial trap begins with a story. The story sounds reasonable, adult, even comforting. It says, I am just tired. I am just busy. I just need more money. I just need one better month. That story is powerful because it protects the ego from immediate discomfort, but it also protects the pattern that keeps doing damage. Alex, 28, kept saying his problem was income. Mr. Green, 59, earned less than him and still looked calmer because he faced reality faster. Alex treated money like a threat. Mr. Green treated it like information. That difference changes entire futures. In old trading cities, merchants kept detailed records, not because they loved paperwork, but because uncertainty destroys decision-making faster than bad news does. Modern people often do the opposite. They avoid, delay, soothe, and distract themselves, then act shocked when the pressure gets worse. Another trap is the fake maturity of vague optimism. People say things like, I know I need to get serious, as if saying the sentence counts as beginning the work. It does not. Hope without process is a sedative. Think carefully. If the story in your head makes avoidance feel safer than honesty, that story is not helping you. It is billing you. Part 2. When the math gets personal. Here is where people usually look away. The math stops sounding like numbers and starts sounding like a stolen life. Think about a habit that drains just $10 a day. Over 5 years, that is more than $18,000. Not a tiny leak. A serious transfer of power away from your future. Push that same pattern into 10 years, and you are looking at over $36,000 before growth, opportunity cost, or emotional fallout even enter the room. Stretch it to 30 years and it becomes more than $109,000. And that number still does not describe the full damage. Because money is never just money. Money is time. Money is breathing room. Money is whether you can say no to a bad boss, leave a fragile situation, absorb a surprise bill, or protect your family without panic. Elena once said she did not cry because she was broke. She cried because every number made her feel trapped inside her own life. That is what people miss. The math is emotional. Imagine losing 5 years not because you were incapable, but because a repeatable pattern kept quietly taxing every attempt to move forward. Imagine 10 years of saying next month, while the actual cost keeps compounding underneath you. Imagine 30 years ending in the painful realization that most of the damage came from habits that looked small while they were happening. Stop. If you keep thinking in dollars alone, you will keep underestimating the human cost. Part 3. The real mechanism. The deeper mechanism is rarely the price tag. It is the behavior underneath the price tag. Some people spend to change their mood. Some avoid accounts to delay shame. Some refuse to invest because staying confused feels less risky than starting small. Some overspend on appearances because looking stable feels easier than becoming stable. None of that makes them weak. It makes them expensive to themselves. The breakthrough happens when you stop asking, "Why am I so bad with money?" and start asking, "What emotional job has this habit been doing for me?" Part 3. The real mechanism. It turns guilt into information. It turns chaos into pattern recognition. It turns random regret into something you can actually work with. Families in Canada, the US, and the UK all face different systems, taxes, and pressures. But the pattern is universal. What is unmanaged emotionally becomes unmanageable financially. You can see this in households at every income level. One person gets a raise and upgrades their stress. Another person gets a raise and quietly increases margin. One person uses money to silence emotion. Another uses systems to expose it. The outside world matters, but the mechanism inside your decisions matters more than most people want to admit. Look closer. If a habit keeps returning, it is probably solving a feeling while quietly destroying a future. Part 4. The examples people never forget. Marcus used convenience spending to recover from overwork, and then wondered why he never had margin. Sophie and Daniel loved each other, but every money conversation turned into a fight. Because each person heard accusation where the other person intended concern. The Howard family kept telling themselves small leaks did not matter until the leaks added up to a year of pressure they could not explain. Then there is the quiet opposite story. Someone gets embarrassed, then honest. Someone builds one rule, follows it long enough, and suddenly chaos stops acting like the boss. That is how real change usually looks. It is not glamorous, it is repetitive, it is humble. Ancient households survived hard seasons by giving every resource a purpose. Today, waste hides better. It hides in subscriptions, one-click checkouts, easy credit, soft excuses, lifestyle inflation, and emotional spending dressed up as self-care. A young worker named Reggie once realized he had built a life where every stressful week created a new financial mess that the next calm week had to clean up. Mrs. Patel, with less income and more discipline, built the exact opposite cycle. One boring rule made the next decision easier, and the easier decision made the next month calmer. That is how momentum works in both directions. Pause and ask yourself something brutal. If someone studied your transactions for 90 days, would they conclude that your money is building your future or rescuing your moods? Part 5. The Master Blueprint. Now let us get practical. First, face the exact numbers with zero drama and zero guessing. Second, separate survival money from flexible money the moment income arrives. Third, automate the good behavior before emotion gets a vote. Fourth, review your system every single week, not once a month when the damage is already old news. Fifth, remove friction from saving and investing while adding friction to the habit that keeps hurting you. Sixth, choose one priority at a time instead of trying to fix your whole life in one heroic weekend. Seventh, track visible progress because the brain needs proof. Eighth, increase the system whenever your income rises, so lifestyle inflation does not steal the upgrade first. This is the part people resist because it sounds too simple. Exactly. Simple is what survives bad days. Simple is what survives boredom. Simple is what survives stress. A beautiful plan that only works when you feel inspired is not a plan. It is entertainment. A real blueprint also needs boundaries. Decide what account does what. Decide what day you review everything. Decide which purchases require waiting. Decide what amount gets auto-saved before you feel rich enough to notice it. Decide what one emergency rule protects you from turning every bad week into a financial relapse. Stop. Build something that still works when you are tired, irritated, tempted, and emotionally noisy. Part 6. The first 30 days. This is where people either create evidence or create another excuse. In the first week, do not chase perfection. Chase visibility. Open every account. Name every bill. Find every recurring charge. Write down every debt, every minimum payment, every due date, every piece of financial friction that has been hiding in the dark. In the second week, remove what is obviously draining you without protecting your life, your health, your work, or your recovery. In the third week, automate the one behavior that matters most for this topic. In the fourth week, review what broke, what held, and what still feels fragile. That is how real systems are built, not by pretending you will suddenly become a different human being, but by designing around the human being you actually are. If weekends are dangerous, make weekends safer. If late-night scrolling creates spending, add friction to late-night spending. If money talks with your partner collapse into blame, make the rule that no one raises numbers without also naming the shared goal. If investing feels scary, reduce decisions and increase repetition. Understand this. The first month is not about proving you're impressive. It is about proving you can become consistent. Part 7. Emotional math over time. 5 years is enough to expose a habit. In 5 years, one recurring leak can become a vanished emergency fund, a delayed move, a postponed dream, or a child hearing "not now" 100 times because the margin never appeared. 10 years is where the contrast gets heavier. 10 years of autopilot waste can leave someone with clutter, stories, and regret. 10 years of consistent structure can leave someone with options, steadier sleep, and a completely different relationship to risk. 30 years is where the numbers become brutal. 30 years of reactive behavior can leave a person with decades of work behind them and almost no strength to show for it. 30 years of consistent investing, controlled spending, and honest reviews can create a level of calm that younger people mistake for luck. It is not luck. It is repetition protected by systems. That is why key message matters. Cheap is not always smart. Value means lower total cost, stronger reliability, and fewer expensive mistakes. That is not a slogan. That is survival advice. And here is the part that hits hardest. By year 30, what you have really built is not just a financial result. You have built a nervous system, either one that expects danger because money has always been chaotic, or one that expects recoverability because you have trained yourself to respond instead of panic. Notice this. Every repeated financial action is also training your body to feel either safe or hunted. Part 8. What will try to pull you back? The second you try to change, resistance appears. Friends normalize what you are trying to escape. Ads target your most tired moments. Algorithms learn your weakness better than some people who love you. One rough day whispers that you deserve a treat, and suddenly, the treat costs $180, plus the shame that follows. This is where people confuse discomfort with failure. That is a dangerous mistake. Discomfort often means the old identity is losing ground. When the urge hits, ask 3 questions. What feeling am I trying to change right now? What consequence arrives after this feeling leaves? What would the future version of me beg me to do in this exact moment? Those questions can save more money than any clever trick because they interrupt the pattern before it becomes another transaction. Remove saved cards. Delete shopping apps. Keep one visible rule. Automate investing. Another move that works is replacing temptation with recovery. Rehearse your no. Walk instead of scroll. Pause instead of purchase. Delay instead of rationalize. Write the truth down before the habit can rewrite the story in your head. Here's the truth. You do not need to become a perfect person. You need to stop leaving every door open for your worst impulses. Part 9. The new identity. The real win is not just a better statement, a lower bill, or a growing account. The real win is identity. It is the moment you stop seeing yourself as someone who is always behind, always late, always reacting, always hoping one better month will magically solve a deeper pattern. The world is full of pressure to perform success, finance emotion, and postpone truth. But one clear decision cuts through all of that. Decide that your money will tell the truth. Decide that your habits will stop auditioning for approval and start working for your freedom. Decide that the next 5 years will not be sacrificed to the same pattern that stole the last 5. One day, you will open an account, review a purchase, talk to your partner, or look at an investment balance and realize the fear is smaller than it used to be. The noise is lower. The future feels closer. And the most powerful part will not just be the number, it will be the person looking back at you from the screen. A calmer face, a steadier breath, a life with more choice. That is what this has been about the whole time. Not perfect budgeting, not financial performance, not impressing strangers, freedom. Stop. That future is built by what you do next.